Welcome to this review of the Goosky S1 ready to fly. This great little kit was recently released and landed in Australia at the beginning of November this year. As you can see, this is the box that it comes in. I ordered the pink helicopter, but you can see it comes in a green and also a white model. And the transmitter comes in a mode 1 and also mode 2 configuration. On the side of the box, we have all the dimensions of the helicopter. And apart from that, there's not too much else. So let's pull it out of the box and see what we've got. Well, as you can see, we've got the typical, like the Goosky S2, a nice expanded polypropylene box, nice and tough. And inside, everything is laid out just nicely like the S2 as well. But in this, the ready to fly kit, we have the lovely little pink helicopter, the Goosky T8 transmitter, not one, but 2 batteries, a USB charger, a quick start guide, Bluetooth module. I haven't had a need to fit this yet, but you use it for tuning the helicopter and apply firmware updates, things like that. Very easy to fit when you need it. And this is what I think Goosky meant to be a spare parts kit, but it's only 3 cable ties and 4 little screws. So unlike the S2, which comes with spare main and feathering shafts, yeah, you don't get anything like this with this helicopter, but I'll explain a little bit later why I think that's the case. I've been flying RC helis now for about 18 months. It's a great hobby. I've picked this up and I've been having nothing but fun with it. And I've been flying Goosky products. I bought the Goosky S2 just over a year ago when it was first released. And it's a beautiful helicopter. Same with the RS4. It's slightly bigger again and another lovely machine to fly. Very, very well designed and highly recommend it. But this little S1, it's as you can see, it's a great little size. You can fly it in your backyard. You can fly it indoors if you're brave enough. And it is very, very easy to fly. It's very, very solid, stable, locked in. It's a great, great helicopter. One of the things I did want to go over though is the transmitter. The transmitter is fantastic. I've gone through a couple of different radios now, and I'm currently sitting on a Jetty transmitter. And while the Jetty is a class-leading radio, I tell you what, for the money, for what this thing is absolutely fantastic. The gimbals are nice and smooth and fairly light to use. And also, everything is programmed into this radio to suit the Goosky helicopter. And when I say the Goosky helicopter, I'm even talking about the S2. This will bind directly to the S2 flight controller with a simple matter of pressing the bind button 3 times, which is listed in the quick start guide. But on the left here, we have our speeds, head speeds. So down below on the bottom setting is our normal mode. So when we're in normal mode, we have quite a low head speed, sufficient for flying, and it's a great speed for beginners. But what it also does, it adjusts your pitch curves so that when you raise your collective from the middle point to the top, it will go from 0 degrees to whatever the maximum pitch is. I assume it's around 12 degrees, maybe a little bit less. But when you pull it down, when you come past 0, the blades won't go any further than 0. It won't go into negative pitch, which is fantastic when you're a beginner, because what we tend to do, I remember this so well, is when you become a little bit uncertain and you just want to bring the helicopter down because you're worried something might happen, you can yank this down and it goes in a negative pitch and it will just slam into the ground and cause damage. But what happens here is when you go past the middle point, the blades will hit 0 degrees and the helicopter will just come down on its own weight. It still will fall quite quickly, but it won't slam into the ground, and it's unlikely you'll get any damage to the helicopter. So that's a great feature for anyone who is first starting out with radio controlled helicopters. Moving across, this switch here, also really good for beginners. So when you push it to the top, this is a self-leveling mode. So the helicopter will actually maintain a nice level plane. It might drift a little bit, but it's pretty good. And then when you move your aileron or your elevator forward and backward, as soon as you let it go and it comes back to center, the helicopter will also level out automatically. For those of you who have been flying a little while and you like to do some 3D work, pull the switch down and you're in the full 3D mode, and we can start doing inverted flying and whatnot. This switch over here controls our rates. So when we're up on this top setting here with the switch right up, this is our the rates in its lowest amount of effect. So when you move your stick left and right and forward and backward, the helicopter won't move quite as aggressively or to the same response as the inputs that you give it, as opposed to when it's fully down. So if you're a beginner and you're learning, I highly recommend that you just push this switch up, and the helicopter will be very, very gentle and tame to use. Great place to start. And then finally, this is our throttle hold or throttle cut switch. So when it's down, that's when the hold is off and the motor will start and run. And then when you're ready to turn the motor off, pull it up and the motor will stop. The USB charger is surprisingly really good. It takes about 30 to 35 minutes to charge the battery, depending on what sort of discharge it's currently sitting in. But it has a red and green LED inside. And when it's charging, when you first plug it in, if there's no battery attached to it, it will flash red and green for approximately 10 seconds, something like that. It's just an initialization phase and check that it's doing. And then when it's finished that, it will be solid red. Once you plug a battery in, however, it will start flashing red and green again, and it will continue like that until the battery is fully charged, and then it will be a solid green color. If you already have the battery connected and then plug it into your USB power supply, it will just keep flashing red and green until the battery is fully charged. Speaking of charging batteries, if there's one thing that this kit is missing, but most of us do have one of these around these days, is a USB-C cable, and that is required to charge the rechargeable battery that is in the transmitter. So as you can see, there is a USB-C port on the top here. So when you plug that into a power source, you get a little charging light display on here, and you can leave it there until the activity stops and you can see all the LEDs on. So something to be aware of. The only thing missing on this transmitter, in my opinion anyway, is a timer. So one thing that we want to know is flight time. How much flight time do I have in the air? Because one thing that we don't want to do with these lithium polymer batteries is we don't want to drain them down to the point where they're just about ready to die, where they're just about empty. It's not good for them. For those of you who are not seasoned RC enthusiasts. So I always recommend you work out what your best flight time is in association with a battery checker. But if you're new into flying, you probably won't have one of those yet. So I would recommend that when you are using normal or the idle up one mode, which is the middle position of this switch, you're probably looking at about 5 to 5.5 minutes flight time. You could probably even stretch 6 if you're flying very gentle. If you're in the top speed and the top position of the switch, you're probably looking at about 3 to 4 minutes, depending on how hard you fly. But we don't have a timer, so what do? Well, you could go on the internet and you can do a search for one of those little digital kitchen timers, and you can just double side tape it to here or something like that, and you can set that up. Or you could do what I do. Most of us have one of these. And you can just say, hey Siri, 5-minute timer. So while this is a ready to fly kit, as it says on the outside of the box, and as you can see, we've got everything here to make it fly, there is a couple of things that I would recommend that you purchase, if not with the kit when you buy it, get it soon after. Buy another 2 of these little fellas. They're all of about $20 each. And if there's one thing that we hate, and that's running batteries going flat and waiting for them to charge. So if you're having a couple more and you charge them up before you go out to fly, that's all the extra flight time you get and less waiting around. So yeah, very well worthwhile purchase. And the other thing that I would recommend that you purchase, especially if you are already an RC enthusiast and you have a dual channel LiPo battery charger, is the S1 charge cable. So as you can see, it has the XT60 plug on the end, so it fits your traditional LiPo chargers. They're all of $4 each, so grab yourself a couple, and that lets you charge 2 batteries at a time. Along with your USB charger, you could charge 3 batteries at a time, up to you. So one thing I mentioned a little earlier is this spares kit that you get with this helicopter. And I said before, where's our little shafts that could possibly bend when we crash it and things like that? Well, I've been flying this now for, let's say, 1 month, and I've put about 50 flights through it, and I'm so happy with this helicopter. It is so fun to fly. It puts a smile on my face every time I fly it. It's just so versatile. It's easy, but fully capable of doing anything that some of the best pilots in the world can do if you're at that level. I'm certainly not at that level yet. But if there's one thing that I have done, and that's I've crashed it quite a few times already. When I first took delivery of this, it was actually at an indoor flying event inside a velodrome here in Brisbane. And yeah, wasn't used to the helicopter, and hey, I'm just gonna say the lights were on my face and I couldn't see. I'll just use a dumb excuse like that. And this thing is fast, I'll warn you, this thing can fly very, very fast. And I flew it really fast into a wall. The first bang I heard was when it hit the wall, and the second bang I heard was when it hit the floor, and I thought, oh, I've just wrecked my lovely new little helicopter. Anyway, I went over, I found it on the floor, and I'm not joking at all when I say this, but the tiny little links between the blade grips and the swash plate popped off. That's all it was. I popped them back on. Very, very easy, just did it with my fingers, don't need any tools or anything like that. Put it on the ground, took the throttle hold off, and I kept flying for the rest of the night. And the other crash that I had on this, I was flying it inverted over some grass, and I had it quite low, probably about that high off the ground, hovering nicely, and a big gust of wind came along and just pushed it down. I wasn't ready for it, and the blades touched the grass, and it hooked up into the grass and fell over. And not even the blades broke, nothing like that broke. I just picked it up, have a bit of a look at it, put it down, took the throttle hold off and flew it again. So yeah, look, I don't think that you need to go and buy a spares kit for this straight away. It is a tough little helicopter, not only because of it is built strong, but because it's so light, it doesn't hit the ground hard when you crash it. So yeah, very, very tough. So how much does this whole kit cost? Well, at the time of producing this video, it's 400 Australian dollars. That is complete, ready to go. Like I said before, you'll just need a USB-C cable to charge up the radio battery, but apart from that, it is ready to go. I purchased mine from Soxos Australia. I've purchased all my Goosky products from them so far, and they are a fantastic company to deal with. They're heli pilots themselves, so they know what it takes to basically build you a great product. It's also pretty important when you're flying these things that you have access to spare parts that are readily available. And every time that I've needed a spare for my other Goosky helicopters, they've always been in stock, and their dispatch time is absolutely fantastic. I can order something and it will be here a day later, 2 at the most. So highly, highly recommend Soxos Australia for any Goosky product or anything else that they sell. I'm not sponsored by them or do I have any affiliation with Soxos Australia, but I'm all for promoting a great company and a great product and a great service. So I hope you've got a lot out of this video. There's plenty of videos out there of people flying the S1. So if you wanted to see how it flies and people's comments about how they fly, apart from what I've already told you in this video, please go and look them up. This video is purely to show you what you get in the ready to fly kit. But I hope this has been informative and you've enjoyed it. And if you've got any questions, please leave it in the comments below. Thanks for watching.